Women over 60. Do this right before he enters you, and he'll tremble with desire forever. Welcome to Wise Life After 60. So grateful to have you here. Stop. Don't move. Don't rush. Because the moment before he enters you is the most powerful second you will ever hold. And if you know what to do with it, he will never forget you. Not in his body, not in his bones, not even in the quietest hours of his longing. This isn't about seduction. It's about energy, intention, and the kind of presence that shakes a man to his core. What you do before the moment defines everything that happens after. This is how you awaken him. There is a heartbeat of time right before everything changes. Breath mingles, skin brushes, and the world itself holds its breath. In that pause lies the secret to making an older man tremble with desire, not just tonight, but in memories that last for years. Many women have been told they must perform, be flawless, or do something no other woman does. But intimacy after 60 is not about novelty. It is about presence. When your eyes tell him you trust him, while your energy whispers, "I am still in charge of my desire," that is what becomes unforgettable. That pause is what makes him tremble. So if you want to create a moment that makes a guy quake with anticipation, one that he will never forget, here are 6 techniques to capture that split second before he enters you and make it last forever in his memory. And before we begin, tap that like button and subscribe to Wise Life After 60 so we can keep walking this path together. Now, let's step into the first reflection. Number 1. Eye contact. Have you ever felt the weight of silence in the second before he enters you? In that pause, a simple act can change everything. Eye contact, steady and soft, becomes the bridge between two souls. It is not just a glance. It is a message. I see you. I choose you. I am here. I remember a conversation with a woman in her 60s who had started dating again after divorce. She told me about one evening when intimacy with her partner felt almost too overwhelming. She admitted she was nervous about her body and unsure if she could let go. But right before the moment came, she decided to do something simple. She held his gaze. No words, no rush, just her eyes locked into his. She told me she saw his chest rise sharply and then soften, as if her look had undone him. The next morning, he whispered, "That look you gave me, I will never forget it. It made me feel like you reached a part of me no one had ever touched." That is the power of eye contact. It shifts intimacy from a physical act into a deep recognition. It makes him feel seen, chosen, and vulnerable in a way that draws him closer. When you hold his gaze at that threshold, you awaken his desire and his devotion all at once. So the next time you find yourself in that breathless pause, do not turn away. Let your eyes speak the truth he longs to feel. And now, let us explore another secret, one that does not come through sight at all, but through the softness of your voice. Number 2. Whisper. What if I told you that the most powerful words in intimacy are not the loudest ones, but the softest. Right before he enters you, your whisper has the power to change his entire state of being. Not because of what you say, but because of how you say it. A voice lowered, slowed, and filled with intention carries more electricity than a shout ever could. Philosophers have long said that truth is carried on the breath. A whisper is truth in its most intimate form. It does not try to impress or perform. It simply reveals. When you lean close and let your words slip gently against his ear, you are doing more than arousing him. You are claiming a sacred space where only he belongs. That is why what you whisper matters less than the fact that it is personal and real. It might be his name, a quiet, "I want you," or even just a sigh turned into words. The meaning lies not in vocabulary, but in exclusivity. Older men, even the strong ones, long for this kind of intimacy. They are used to noise, to chatter, to a world that demands. But your whisper is different. It is not a demand. It is an invitation. It tells him he is not just any man. He is the one who has entered your inner world. Let me ask you something. If you were to whisper something in that moment, what would it be? Share it with me in the comments. I would love to hear the words that you think carry the most power, the kind that can turn silence into a trembling connection. And from voice we move to something even more primal than words, something older than speech itself, the rhythm of the breath. Number 3. Breath. They say the body remembers what the mind forgets, and nowhere is that truer than in the way we breathe. Right before he enters you, the way you shape your breath can set the rhythm for everything that follows. A slow inhale, a gentle exhale brushing against his cheek or ear does more than stir his body. It tells him, without words, that you are fully present, fully alive in the moment. Relationship experts like Esther Perel have often spoken about how couples fall into synchrony without realizing it. Breath, posture, even the smallest rhythms begin to mirror each other when two people feel emotionally safe. Psychology calls this attunement, and it is one of the strongest signals of intimacy. Imagine that. Your breath becomes his breath, your rhythm guiding his body without needing to say a thing. This is not about dominance, it is about presence. It is a way of saying, "Come with me, follow this current." I once heard a woman in her late 60s laugh as she told me how her new partner teased her. She said, "He told me he knew I was in charge the moment my breath touched his neck. He said it was like I set the pace without asking." That is the beauty of breath. It is subtle, almost invisible, but it shifts everything. So when that sacred moment arrives, do not hold your breath out of tension or rush it out of nerves. Breathe slowly, intentionally. Let him feel it. Let him mirror your pace. Because in that rhythm, you are no longer two people trying to connect. You are already connected, carried on the same tide. And as breath guides the body, the touch of your hands guides the heart. Let us turn now to something even more tender, the way you reach for his face. Number 4. Touching his face. There are gestures so simple, yet so profound, that they turn passion into reverence. One of them is the way you reach for his face right before he enters you. To cup his cheeks, to trace the line of his jaw, to let your fingertips linger against his lips or brow, is to say something that words will never capture. It breaks the script of lust and invites something sacred. Philosophers through the ages have spoken of the human face as a mirror of the soul. Emmanuel Levinas once wrote that the face of the other calls us to responsibility, to recognition, to reverence. When you touch his face in that vulnerable second, you remind him that he is not just a body, not just desire, but a being worthy of tenderness. It shifts the entire energy. What could have been just heat and urgency becomes softness and devotion. In love after 60, this gesture carries even more meaning. It says, I see the years that made you. I honor the lines, the journeys, the struggles carved here. Your hands are not simply touching skin, they are touching a lifetime. And that transforms intimacy into something larger than pleasure. It becomes a recognition of existence itself. So when you let your hands cradle his face, pause for a breath. Allow him to feel not only your desire, but also your reverence. For in that touch lies a silent truth, that passion can be fierce, but it can also be gentle enough to heal. It is in these pauses that intimacy grows its roots, not in rushing, not in performing, but in the quiet gestures that carry meaning beyond desire. When you touch his face with that kind of presence, you're speaking a language older than words, a language he will feel long after the moment has passed. And as the silence deepens, something within both of you begins to awaken, waiting to be named. Number 5. Saying his name. I once listened to a woman in her early 70s share about her new relationship. She told me that on their first nights together, she often felt unsure of herself. But then, she began doing something simple. Right before he entered her, she would say his name, slowly, softly, as if it were the only word that mattered. She said the effect was immediate. His body stilled, his breath caught, and his eyes searched hers with a look she would never forget. Later, he told her, "When you said my name like that, I felt like I was the only man alive." That is the power of naming. It takes intimacy away from performance and brings it into presence. A name is not decoration. It is recognition. It is the sound that carries a man back to himself, to his vulnerability, to the truth that he is not just a body, but a person deeply chosen. When spoken with care, it has the weight of devotion. Psychologists often remind us that our names are tied to identity more strongly than any other word. To hear it spoken gently in the most vulnerable moment is to be reminded, I am seen, I matter, I belong here. And that reminder has the power to make him tremble far beyond the physical. Let me ask you, if you were in that moment, how would you say his name? Would it be soft, playful, reverent? Share it in the comments, because your words may give courage to another woman watching this. Sometimes the smallest sound becomes the most unforgettable memory, echoing in his heart long after the night has passed. Number 6. The pause. Silence can be more powerful than touch.
right before he enters you. To hold the pause is to hold the universe in your hands. Most of us are tempted to rush, to bridge that silence as quickly as possible. But when you dare to linger, when you let the moment stretch, you awaken something ancient in him. Desire turns into reverence. Anticipation sharpens into longing. Philosophers from East and West have all spoken of the sacred pause. Lao Tzu once asked, "Do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and the water is clear?" In love after 60, this patience becomes power. The pause before intimacy is not emptiness, it is fullness. It is the space where presence gathers, where both of you realize you are stepping into something more than flesh. When you hold that pause, your body says, "I am not rushing to give myself away. I am choosing this." That choice radiates through him. The silence becomes louder than touch. The waiting becomes more intoxicating than the act itself. In that instant, he is not simply entering your body, he is entering a memory that will stay etched into him. So do not fear the pause. It is not hesitation, it is mastery. It is not withholding, it is a deep offering. Within it lies the chance to make intimacy unforgettable, because it is in the stillness before the fire that the spark is most fiercely felt. And when that stillness finally breaks, only one question remains. How will you use those final 10 seconds before everything changes? Number 7. Mini checklist. 10 seconds before the threshold. 10 seconds. That is all it takes to decide whether the memory will fade or last forever. In those final breaths before he enters you, the smallest choices become the loudest echoes. Do not drift. Do not collapse into habit. Claim those seconds like they are sacred ground. First, pause. Just one heartbeat. Shoulders soften, jaw relaxes, tension melts away. Then the eyes, steady, unflinching, soft but unbreakable. He must feel that he is seen, not glanced at. Next, the breath. 3 slow inhales, ribs rising, chest opening. Each exhale long and deliberate, brushing against the air between you. Already his rhythm begins to follow yours without him even knowing it. Then the whisper, not a line rehearsed, not something borrowed, but a truth that belongs only to this moment. Short, real, present, just enough for him to know he is inside your world now. Let your hand find his face, fingertips slow, intentional. Cheek, jaw, lips. Remind him that desire can also be devotion. And finally, the choice. Not surrender, not loss, but a quiet sharing of power. Your body ready, your energy steady, your presence unshaken. That is what he enters, not just flesh, but a temple of memory. 10 seconds. That is all. Yet within them lives the difference between being forgotten by morning and being remembered for a lifetime. When we look back, we often realize it was never the grand gestures that stayed with us, but the small ones. The quiet seconds before passion, the soft gaze, the whisper, the breath, the touch, the pause. These are the threads that weave intimacy into memory. For women over 60, this is not about reinventing youth or competing with novelty. It is about stepping into a presence so strong, so certain, that an older man feels it in his bones long after the moment has passed. Intimacy after 60 is not less, it is more. More depth, more weight, more truth. It is not simply about what to do before intimacy. It is about how you show up in that pause before he enters you. That moment is a mirror. It reflects not only your desire, but your confidence, your trust, and your timeless feminine energy. It tells him he is chosen. It tells him he is seen. It tells him he is remembered. So carry this with you. Passion is not diminished with age, it is refined. Every glance, every breath, every whisper is an offering that no performance can replace. These are not techniques. They are invitations into something larger than desire. They are reminders that sacred intimacy is built not in the act itself, but in the presence that leads to it. If this message resonates with you, I invite you to join our community here on Wise Life After 60. Like this video, subscribe for more reflections, and share your own wisdom in the comments. Your story might be the one another woman needs to hear. Take care of your spirit and carry this with you always. The most powerful seconds are often the quietest ones.